Hi and welcome. I'm Andy Miocha and you're watching A News. Here are the headlines. Netanyahu threatens Hamas after Israeli military said one of the bodies released did not belong to Shiri Bibas. Hamas pledges to investigate. 3 empty buses explode in Tel Aviv. Police says it's investigating suspected terror attack. Trump envoy calls Zelensky a courageous leader after days of criticism from the White House. Thank you for tuning in. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened to, quote, make Hamas pay the full price after Israeli military said one of the 4 bodies returned under the ceasefire deal was not Shiri Bibas. Hamas said it was investigating a possible mistake in identifying human remains handed to Israel.
Israelis in Tel Aviv have expressed sadness and anger after specialists say that one of the 4 bodies handed over by Hamas as part of a ceasefire deal was an unidentified woman and not the body of Shiri Bibas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened to make Hamas pay the full price for failing to uphold the terms of the agreement.
We will act with determination to bring Shiri home along with all our hostages, both living and dead, and ensure Hamas pays the full price for this cruel and evil violation of the agreement. May the sacred memory of Oded Lifshitz, Ariel and Kefir Bibas be forever enriched in the heart of the nation.
Israelis have expressed hurt over the actions of Hamas and say that Hamas is making a mockery of Israel.
It's really hurts because once they are dead, and we really hope that they won't be dead, they will come back. And now it's like they make a joke of us. This is what I feel, because the children are true, they are the children, and the mother, they just sent a body, and it's so painful. So the family has to go and bury them and to make such sort of a closure.
Hamas says that Bibas was killed by an Israeli airstrike in the early days of the war and claims that her remains appear to have been mixed up with other human remains from the rubble and are now investigating the possible error. They have since announced that 6 more Israeli hostages will be released on Saturday.
3 empty buses have exploded on the southern edge of Tel Aviv in what Israeli police say is a suspected terror attack. There were no casualties and devices on 2 other buses failed to explode.
The sound of car horns and traffic gave way to emergency sirens in Bat Yam, a suburb near Tel Aviv, as police responded to multiple explosions targeting empty buses. Israeli media reported that 3 bombs detonated in parking lots, while 2 additional devices were discovered and disabled before they could go off. Tel Aviv District Commander Haim Zagarov confirmed that police were working to determine the number of suspects involved. Security forces searched parked buses throughout the night, fearing more devices could be planted. Meanwhile, Transport Minister Miri Regev ordered all public buses, trains and light rail systems to be stopped and inspected as a precaution. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was briefed by his military secretary and is expected to hold a security assessment. A spokesperson for the Israel police did not immediately comment on the attack, but authorities remain on high alert as investigations continue.
U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine Keith Kellogg praised Volodymyr Zelensky as a courageous leader of a nation at war. Kellogg said in a post on social media that the talks with Zelensky were extensive and positive. Ukraine's president said the meeting restores hope and pledged that Ukraine was ready to work quickly to produce a strong agreement on investments and security with the U.S. The two met after Donald Trump denounced Zelensky as a dictator, to which Ukraine's leader responded by saying that Trump lives in a Russian disinformation space. A meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin depends on progress in talks on Ukraine, the top U.S. diplomat said. Marco Rubio said he discussed the matter with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Saudi Arabia this week. Rubio made it clear that no meeting will take place without a clear agenda. The Kremlin said that there was a mutual understanding about the need for a meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, but that the details had yet to be worked out. Moscow says that Russia is ready to achieve the goals related to its national interests and security through peaceful negotiations. The Kremlin added that Putin remains open to a settlement on Ukraine. Vladimir Putin has said that Russia is capable of mining its own lithium and that the country should have done it over a decade ago. Speaking at the Future of Technologies conference in Moscow, Putin also spoke on the need to ramp up the Russian chemical industry.
We have things to work on in this field. In general, we have everything we need. We just need to do this purposefully, create conditions for business, and invest in infrastructure. We still do not mine lithium. And how can we develop without it? This thing is obvious for specialists, but we can do it. And we could have done it 10 or 15 years ago.
Austria's Conservative People's Party and the Social Democrats said they had widened their talks aimed at forming a coalition government to include the liberal NEOS party so as to have a solid majority in parliament. The move returns to the three-way format used in the first coalition talks after September's parliamentary election, which the far-right Freedom Party won with some 29% of the vote. After that first centrist attempt collapsed, the Freedom Party was tasked with forming a government, and it said last week it had failed. As Germany heads for a snap election this Sunday, right-wing opposition parties are leading in the polls, with the conservative Christian Democratic Union and its Bavarian sister party, the Christian Social Union, hovering around 30% support, and the far-right Alternative for Germany trailing them with around 20%.
Germany is heading to the polls this Sunday after Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition government collapsed under the weight of internal disagreements. The breakdown of the three-way alliance has triggered a snap election, with voters now poised to decide the country's leadership and policy direction for the next chapter. The main contenders are the centre-left Social Democrats, SPD, led by Scholz, and the conservative bloc of the Christian Democrats, CDU, and their Bavarian allies, the CSU. For the past 2 years, the CDU-CSU alliance has led national opinion polls with 30%, while the SPD, once the frontrunner in the 2021 elections, has slipped to 16%. The far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, has gained significant ground, polling at 20%, while the Greens and the Left Party, Linke, are also competing with smaller but notable shares of support. The outcome is far from certain, as polls have shown how quickly public sentiment can shift. In 2021, the CDU went from leading to becoming the runner-up, leaving many to wonder whether the same could happen again. Political analysts also note the increasing fluidity of voters' loyalties in modern Germany. 3 key issues are dominating the race: the economy, Ukraine, and migration. Ukraine remains a hot-button issue. Germany's mainstream parties largely support continued aid to Ukraine in its fight against Russia, with Conservatives, Greens, and the FDP backing the delivery of advanced weapons, including Taurus missiles. Chancellor Scholz's SPD, however, has recently called for a more cautious, diplomatic approach. On the other hand, the AfD has adopted a starkly different stance, advocating for a halt to arms shipments to Ukraine and a shift towards warmer relations with Russia. The economy is also a major concern. In 2024, Germany's economy contracted for the second year in a row, its worst performance in 2 decades. High energy prices and inflation are weighing heavily on citizens and businesses. While the SPD and CDU-CSU both support expanding renewable energy, they differ on financing strategies. The CDU and AfD also propose assessing a return to nuclear power, an idea rejected by the SPD and Greens. The CDU-CSU advocates for income and corporate tax cuts, while the AfD proposes controversial economic measures, such as leaving the EU and abandoning the euro. Migration is another flashpoint. With an uptick in violent incidents linked to foreign nationals, many Germans are calling for stricter immigration policies. the CDU has adopted a tougher stance on migration, with proposals for limiting asylum seekers and family reunifications. The AFD, known for its anti-migration rhetoric, is pushing for even more stringent measures, including closing the borders. In contrast, the Greens have maintained their open asylum policies, pushing for a more humane approach to immigration. Meanwhile, tensions have risen over foreign influence in the election. The German government accused US billionaire Elon Musk of attempting to sway the vote in favor of the AFD, following his public support for the far-right party. This controversy erupted after Musk wrote a guest opinion piece endorsing the AFD in the Welt am Sonntag newspaper. As Germany heads into this critical election, the outcome is still uncertain. With a fragmented political landscape, voters will have to decide whether to continue with the status quo or take the country in a dramatically different direction. The AFD is currently polling in second place, trailing the main opposition Conservatives. With its rising support, the party could potentially disrupt the formation of a centre-right or centre-left majority in the upcoming election. However, Germany's mainstream parties have made it clear they will not cooperate with the AFD at the national level, regardless of the election outcome.
Over in Greenland, the ruling Inuit party says it will not rush an independence vote after a general election is held on March 11th, citing concerns over possible economic and welfare implications.
Greenland's ruling party formally launched its election campaign on Thursday, signaling a crucial moment in the country's political trajectory. The campaign comes amid a surge in international interest in Greenland, particularly from the United States, which has reinvigorated the island's independence movement. This growing external attention has amplified domestic calls for swift secession discussions with Denmark. The independence movement has been fueled by a combination of factors, including the island's vast untapped natural resources, such as rare earth minerals, and its strategic geopolitical location in the Arctic.
I hear very few politicians say we want independence tomorrow rather than today. Everybody says we want independence, and we need some questions answered before we can move towards this. So I think I will not be triggered into, not by you, but by the heat of the moment to make decisions in a rush. And I think that my party has always said we want independence. We want all the time to push the boundaries of the Kingdom of Denmark and our autonomy within it. And we want to push towards independence.
Polls indicate that while a significant majority of Greenlanders oppose the idea of becoming part of the United States, there is a strong and growing sentiment in favor of eventual independence from Denmark. However, opinions differ on the timeline for achieving this independence, largely due to concerns about the potential impact on living standards. Many Greenlanders recognize that independence would require significant economic restructuring, as the country currently relies heavily on subsidies from Denmark, which make up a substantial portion of its GDP.
The famous Greek island of Santorini has been affected by earthquakes, putting the tourism sector in a difficult position. Thousands have already left the island, but some business owners and tourists remain determined to stay.
Hotel owner Yannis Constantinou is preparing to welcome guests to the popular tourist destination of Santorini in March. However, a series of earthquakes recorded in recent weeks has brought bookings to a halt.
The bookings have come to a halt. We don't have serious cancellations. There are those that are expected, similar to the previous years. But suddenly, the rhythm of the bookings has stopped. There is this waiting. Everyone is waiting to see what is happening, both us and the people who are to visit.
The volcanic island has been shaken by tens of thousands of mild tremors for weeks. Authorities have declared a state of emergency and thousands of people have left the island by plane and ferry.
There are employees who became frightened and left, and now we are trying to find people. I think employees are also waiting to see what will happen in Santorini. I'm trying to be optimistic. We are here because we can't just sit idly by. That's wars. So we came. We are preparing the rooms. And if no one comes, well, I don't know. We will stay in them and take a vacation ourselves.
Αν δεν έρθει κόσμος, θα κάτσουμε εμείς, ξέρω εγώ, θα κάνουμε εμείς διακοπές. Να σου πω.
While no major damage has been reported, safety measures have been reinforced and schools have been closed due to fears of a stronger earthquake. Business owners and locals remain in a wait-and-see mode, hoping for the tremors to stop and bookings to resume.
Αυτή τη στιγμή δεν ανοίγουν επιχειρήσεις γιατί έχει φύγει το προσωπικό.
At the moment, businesses don't open because the staff have left. Imagine if a business has 2 or 3 staff and they have left. The business owner cannot operate the business alone. There are businesses that can't find staff at the moment because workers that want to come to Santorini are thinking if the phenomenon continues, they will miss their livelihood, which is the tourism season. So they choose to go to other tourist destinations to work. So you understand there is a huge danger at the moment on Santorini that the season will open and the businesses will not be able to open because they don't have staff.
Να ανοίξει σεζόν και να μην μπορούν να ανοίξουν επιχειρήσεις γιατί θα έχουν υπαλλήλους.
However, some tourists have no intention of leaving Santorini.
Η μείωση της τουριστικής σεζόν θα
The reduction of the tourist season will impact the island 100%, but not only this, but also the surrounding islands, because Santorini is a key island, considered a flagship of Greek tourism. When a visitor wants to visit Greece, and his destination along with others is Santorini, if Santorini is not part of it, he might cancel the whole trip.
According to the latest statements from earthquake experts, seismic activity has been gradually decreasing since February 19th. However, they say it is impossible to predict how long the tremors will continue.
Pope Francis is showing improvement, the Vatican said as the pontiff began his 8th day in the hospital. Francis was admitted after struggling with breathing and is being treated for pneumonia.
Pope Francis is showing signs of improvement, remains alert and has been doing some work, the Vatican said. The 88-year-old pontiff marked his 8th day in the hospital battling pneumonia, where he is being treated at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. In a brief update, Vatican spokesman Matteo Bruni said the Pope had slept well overnight and was able to eat breakfast. A Vatican official who spoke on condition of anonymity, as they were not authorised to discuss the Pope's condition, said Pope Francis was breathing on his own without the assistance of any machines. The official added that the Pope was able to move around his hospital room, take phone calls and continue working on paperwork.
Well, when we heard the news, we are very happy when we hear that her health is improving. But, I feel ashamed because, one of our purpose when we come here is just to see the Pope and then we hear how, his good homily. But I feel sorry for him. But at the same time, I'm happy that he is improving.
Che tutti i cattolici devono pregare per il Papa.
I think it's time for all Catholics to pray for the Pope. He's 88, there's frailty of age, but we must pray for him and the good of the Church. Speculation at this time is not good.
E per il bene della Chiesa.
On February 20th, a retired Catholic cardinal suggested that Pope Francis's fragile health condition could prompt him to resign as leader of the 1.4 billion member Catholic Church, following the precedent set by his predecessor, Pope Benedict XVI. However, Pope Francis has firmly dismissed the possibility of resignation in the past, calling it only a distant hypothesis as recently as 2024. Church law also stipulates that any papal resignation must be freely and properly manifested, meaning a pope's decision to step down cannot be influenced by external pressure. Pope Francis is known for maintaining a demanding schedule, sometimes holding down dozens of meetings a day. Vatican officials anticipate that his latest health crisis may prompt him to slow down his pace.
Heavy snow blanketed northern Japan and regions facing the Sea of Japan, prompting weather officials to issue avalanche warnings. The town of Tsunan in Niigata Prefecture had more than 3.5 meters of snow accumulated as of 3 p.m. local time. Officials called on people to stay alert for disrupted traffic and blackouts, as heavy snow is expected to continue through tomorrow. Iran and Afghanistan are deepening their banking cooperation in an effort to facilitate trade. Our Tamim Bahiz has more on that in Kabul.
Afghanistan and Iran are strengthening cooperation in the banking sector as part of a broader effort to deepen their economic ties. The governor of Iran's central bank, Mohammad Reza Farzin, met with his Afghan counterpart, Noor Ahmadallah, to discuss enhancing banking and monetary cooperation. Their meeting took place during the New Banking Technologies Summit in St. Petersburg, Russia. During the discussion, both officials emphasized the importance of strengthening financial ties to support the significant trade and economic exchanges between their countries. They reaffirmed that expanding banking and monetary cooperation remains a priority in bolstering Iran-Afghanistan economic relations. This initiative is part of a broader effort to deepen economic ties between Iran and Afghanistan, to facilitate trade and address Afghanistan's economic challenges. The Iran-Afghanistan banking agreement is particularly significant, as it provides Afghanistan with a vital financial channel amid economic isolation, facilitates trade, and helps both countries navigate Western sanctions. Beyond economic benefits, the agreement signals the growing geopolitical alignment between Iran and the Taliban-led Afghan government, potentially reshaping regional dynamics. While strengthened banking cooperation could aid Afghanistan's struggling economy, challenges remain, including Iran's own financial restrictions. Furthermore, any attempt to integrate the Taliban-controlled Afghanistan into the international financial system is likely to face scrutiny from global regulators. Tamim Bahiz, A News, Kabul, Afghanistan.
A delegation of the Belgian-Azerbaijani Chamber of Commerce is visiting Baku to talk trade ties and explore growth opportunities. Our Nigar Shirinova spoke to head of the chamber, Steph Goris, on the current state of trade and plans for future collaboration.
What is the goal of this trade mission and what do you hope to achieve?
Well, it's the first time for the Chamber, the Belgian-Azerbaijani Chamber of Commerce, to pay a visit in this capacity to Azerbaijan. So it's first of all to make acquaintance with the different agencies such as Aspromo, Kobia and others. Also to meet our Azerbaijani members because they showed already interest to become a member, and we had some very fruitful exchange of views.
Our second question is, how would you describe the current trade relationship between Belgium and Azerbaijan and any key areas for growth?
Yes. To our opinion, the level is not high enough. We should really increase, step up in our mutual trade relations. This is for sure the case. That's why exactly why we, with a group of businessmen, we created this independent and Chamber of Commerce, which is a non-profit organization. So, and we are looking forward to, especially in the field of transport, of logistics, but also metallurgy, but also pharmaceuticals, chemicals, agro-business, many fields that have our interest.
And with Europe's changing economy, how important is Azerbaijan as a trade partner for Belgium?
Well, for the moment, it is, hélas, not. It has not the importance that we would like to have it, because we consider Azerbaijan as a potential future very important partner, because the geographic position of your country, being in the middle of the middle corridor and being in the bottleneck between big countries and the only access between East and West, between the Far East and Europe, we believe it has a huge potential, and we strongly recommend now to Belgian companies to be present during the development also of the middle corridor.
In tech news, California-based startup Aleph Aeronautics has released footage of its flying car lifting off vertically, calling it a major step towards making the futuristic concept a reality.
Cars flying in futuristic movies have always intrigued us, but this time in California, the Aleph Model Zero takes off the ground, marking a step toward the future of transportation. Aleph Aeronautics has showcased its ultralight flying car in a newly released video, demonstrating its ability to lift off vertically and hover over a parked truck. The company says this is the first publicly shared footage of a car both driving and performing a vertical takeoff. The test was conducted with no risk to the public, according to Aleph. CEO Jim Duchovny compared the moment to the Wright brothers' first flight, calling it independently verifiable proof that flying cars are possible. Duchovny acknowledged that buying a flying car is still prohibitively expensive since production has not yet begun. However, he expects costs to drop over time, eventually reaching levels similar to conventional cars.
It's hard to estimate when as far as the exact year, but I think it's going to be a very, very gradual process. It's good for many, many reasons to have gradual process, to get it to consumers so people slowly get used to it, see how safe it is, see how quiet it is, see the benefits of it, not only for themselves, but for example, for search and rescue vehicles. So it's a slow, gradual process where people are going to see 1, 10, 50, 100, and so on.
While there is no clear timeline for flying cars to become mainstream, Duchovny believes the transition will be gradual.
Researchers at the University of Hong Kong have developed a very small high-speed drone. It's called a Super MAV and flies at more than 70 kilometers per hour. Researchers say the drone has the potential to transform medical transportation and emergency rescue operations.
It's hoped a new type of high-speed drone could be used for disaster relief and search and rescue. The tiny device, called Super MAV, a micro-aerial vehicle, is equipped with a lightweight three-dimensional sensor called LIDAR, which uses pulsed laser lights to measure distances. This technology enables the unmanned aircraft to detect obstacles at speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour, allowing it to navigate challenging landscapes very fast. The sensor's data is processed by an artificial intelligence-driven framework, which allows it to make split-second decisions that drastically enhance reliability. It also halves flight planning time compared to traditional methods.
One benefit we can make use of AI for this work is we can make this work to understand the environment. So currently, our work require like a target position, that what the target position we expect the drone to fly to. So, but who determine this target position? Currently, it's made just by human, but this one could be, could be solved by AI technology. So the AI technology can take in the measurements, understand the environment, and then it can generate a target position all by itself. In this way, the whole system would be fully autonomous without any human intervention.
The drone's high speed and safety features provide it with many different uses.
So the high speed and the safe properties of Super have supported a lot of applications, such as medical cargo transportation and search and rescue. In those missions, the time is very important because if you can arrive at the destination timely, sometimes it can save more lives. In other applications, such as autonomous exploration, aerial mapping, 3D reconstruction, if the drone can travel at high speed and keep safe, it can save a lot of time and also reduce the labor cost.
This technology enables the unmanned aircraft to detect obstacles at speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour, allowing it to navigate challenging landscapes very fast. It's been tested in all sorts of different type of environments, such as wild forests, human-made buildings, and indoors and outdoors. According to an article in the journal Science Robotics, it travelled at speeds exceeding 20 metres per second.
Now for some news from culture. China's centuries-old treasures have been pulled out of storage to be restored for display at Beijing's Forbidden City and Palace Museum. Meticulous repairs are needed ahead of the museum's 100th anniversary this year.
Thousands of artifacts from Chinese emperors are undergoing meticulous restoration to be shown in the Palace Museum in Beijing. One of the items is a Qing Dynasty lacquer panel inlaid with jade and agate. The reconditioning of these ancient items can take months or even years. However, President Xi Jinping is pushing to preserve cultural heritage and enhance China's cultural influence.
This is a pair of artworks. The other piece has already been fully restored. However, this particular piece has suffered severe damage. Firstly, its overall structure has cracks. Additionally, it has over 100 inlaid pieces, all of which have fallen off or become loose. For these artifacts, the wooden structure is first repaired by the wood group, and then this layer of lacquer paints. Then finally, the inlaid decorations are reinforced and reattached by the inlaid restoration team. Additionally, there are some missing pieces.
The restoration and curation efforts come as the museum marks its 100th anniversary and prepares to open a new branch later this year. Currently, only 10,000 of the nearly 2 million cultural relics are on display at the moment.
Well, that's all we have for you for now. Thank you for watching and do stay tuned to A News.